Hello friends, welcome back to the channel. I'm the GM Philosopher, and today we're talking about how to DM when you feel uninspired. And the reason for why I'm making this video today is because I feel particularly uninspired today. Not necessarily in a Dungeons and Dragons sense, but in a work, yes, games included, in projects that I've been working on that I enjoy, that I like. A lot of these things that I generally find exciting today, I'm just not super inspired. And this reminds me that sometimes you don't feel inspired when it's time to run a game. And so today I'm just going to drink my coffee and I'm going to talk about what to do when it's time to run a game and you do not feel so inspired. So the first thing that I like to do in these cases is just show up. Step number one is just show up. Because if you want to do the thing, if you want a GM, if you want to run a game, if you want to be the kind of GM who runs a consistent game that your players can rely on, you're going to have times when you're not going to feel as inspired, and you might even have times when you don't feel inspired at all. But showing up is the biggest part of the battle. And if you show up and you are at least smiling and happy, and you say, well, I'm excited for the game today. I'm not sure what I'm going to do. I'm a little bit creatively, I'm at a bit of a creative crossroads. That's how I might describe it, right? It's okay to be that way. There's nothing wrong with that. That doesn't mean that you should cancel the session unless you just, want to, if you need a night off or something. It doesn't mean that you're not a good GM. It doesn't mean the game isn't going good. This is a pretty normal thing that happens. And just showing up is the first part of it, okay? And then that leads us to kind of step number two, take it one step at a time. Just take it one step at a time, the whole the whole session. Take it one step at a time. Just get out your stuff. Set up your dice, set up your GM screen, set up your maps. I know that running a game can kind of be a lot of work. It's usually really fun work, but when you're feeling uninspired, sometimes it just feels a little bit lackluster. Sometimes when you're feeling uninspired, all that work actually feels like work. And you can think to yourself, oh man, I'm not feeling it tonight. This is a drag. I'm kind of dragging. But you know what? This is, once again, a normal thing. And sometimes what I do is I'll put myself into that place where I just start going through the motions. And when I set up the map, I do get a little excited. And when I get my dice out, I do get a little excited. It's like I'm about to play some D&D. I really love D&D. Man, even if I'm feeling very uninspired, taking my time and just going through the motions of setting up my stuff can really help to kind of reinvigorate my excitement, okay? And that leads us to number three. Let your players take the lead. Odds are good that someone at your table does feel inspired and incredibly creative, and they're going to want to engage in their favorite shared narrative storytelling adventure with you. And you know what? They might have enough creativity today to make up for your uninspired feelings. This is such a good thing because those players, when they start role playing, they may very well get you excited. So don't be afraid to just say, hey, everyone roll the dice. And then whoever rolled highest, be like, let's start with your character. Boom, where we left off last time. What is your character doing? And just let them roll. Now, this probably is a tip that a lot of you have used before if you've ever felt uninspired. It just bears repeating. And it's a tip that has helped me a lot. And it's probably my most relied upon tip that I use in these kinds of situations. And this leads us to tip number 4. Find something that gives you a little spark of excitement and focus on it. It could be something little. It could be an NPC you're running. It could be one of the plot arcs you're planning. It could be a magic item the players found. It could be a particular bad guy. Maybe you bring the bad guy into the scene. Maybe you have a little fight, a little skirmish. He comes to test the party's strength. Maybe you feel like running combat. Maybe you don't feel like running combat. Maybe if you do feel like running combat, that's a great thing to do when you're feeling particularly like uninspired for role play. For me personally, when I'm feeling uninspired, role play tends to be what brings me out of that. When I'm feeling highly inspired, that's when I want to do combat. For me, combat isn't usually the place I go to when I'm feeling uninspired. I go to role play. But if your thing is combat, if that's like your comfort zone, if that is where you can go to kind of get inspired and get creative, then maybe you need to boom, launch them right into a skirmish or a bar fight or a brawl, whatever it is. Make it so that that chest in the room they rented is actually a mimic. And whenever they sit down on the bed, it opens up its jaws and it's roll for initiative time. And it turns out it's a big, mean mimic with a whole mimic family of furniture in the room that's been hiding there. And it turns out that it's a mimic infestation. You can always do that. The point here is that you want to go in a direction that inspires you. You want to go in a direction that makes you feel that spark of excitement. And sometimes this means creating something new. Sometimes you're running along and your game is like, man, I'm having trouble finding anything to be inspired by. Listen, I want to tell you, this is super normal. This does not make you a bad GM. This happens to me on a regular basis, not like a lot. Like it doesn't happen super often, but in every game, I'm going to run into these things probably about once a quarter. If I'm running a game to level 20, about, once a quarter, 4 times per campaign, I'll kind of hit a slump where I'm kind of like, all the plot arcs feel stale to me. I'm feeling like I'm not doing a great job. I'm feeling like, the game has turned into a grind. I feel like the energy with the players isn't quite right. I want to get them pumped and excited, but I feel like I'm having trouble doing it. These are the kinds of things that I start thinking about when I'm feeling uninspired. And if you can find a way to create something that excites you, and it might be something totally different that's not in your game right now. It might be taking something in your game and changing it. Like it might be something as simple as like the party gets suddenly swallowed up by a magical spiral vortex and they get shunted to another world for one session where they have to battle glass trolls who throw stones, and they're in a mirror realm, and there's ice and glaciers, and there's like a frost wizard with 2 heads, whatever it is. Whatever you feel like you're interested in sounds like fun that won't like just wreck the game. Doing something slightly different, doing something off the wall a little bit, taking it in just a different direction, is saying, you know what, we need to inject a little life into this, man. That something's gotta spark. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with doing that kind of thing. But with that being said, those are my thoughts on that. And I hope that you have found this helpful. Drop me a comment. Let me know what you do when you feel uninspired about running your games. I would love to hear about your approach. Let me know if you agree or disagree with my tips and which ones you think maybe would work good, which ones wouldn't work good. And hey, give me a thumbs up and a subscribe while you're at it. Thank you so much. I'm here almost every day creating content about what I think is the best game in the world, D&D. And hey, I will see all you awesome people on the next one.